Well, Swiggy, along with Kani, has released in 2025 How India Eats report projecting a $125 billion food services market by 2030 and highlighting major shifts in India's eating habits. To break down these trends on Business Today television, I'm joined by Rohit Kapoor, who is the CEO of Swiggy Food Marketplace. Rohit, welcome on Business Today.
Thank you, Karishma, for having me.
Rohit, let me begin by asking you what, according to you, is driving the $125 billion food services opportunity here in India?
I think there are two or three things. One is fundamentally, if you look at penetration itself, right? Food services as a percentage of GDP is about 1.9% in India, give or take, let's say 2%, right? In markets like even Brazil, it's about 5.9%. In some of the developed markets, slightly higher, right? So the under penetration remains, and that's a function of classically how the economy is building, how the GDP per capita is growing. But as India accelerates, right, overall, I think we'll catch up closer to the percentages of GDP that we see in other markets, right? Having said that, I think the growth rate itself should be actually a lot more over time because the number looks large, but if you look at the growth rate, it's sort of 10% with the organized sector actually growing 2x of the unorganized sector. I think there is work cut out to make this grow even faster, and I sincerely hope our numbers are underballed and it grows even more than that. So this is coming out of the joint work with Carney. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You did mention about organized sector doing twice as better as the unorganized. What do you think is the reason behind this?
I think several reasons. One is that, like, lot of cuisines which were sort of only unorganized have become highly organized. So, for example, if you think of momos, right?
Yeah.
Momos was a street side thing 5 years, 7 years back, but today there are companies which are building sizable business on top of Momo as a franchise, right? And that's happening like in samosa, that's happening in several other cases. Plus, new categories are coming in. So it is quite a natural progression, and it doesn't happen only in food. If you look at across categories, you'll see that shift happening. Having said that, I think it's good because as the organized systems grow, they also take along with them a lot of people who are then become suppliers to that, then become consumers of that. So the ecosystem actually becomes much stronger.
Interesting. I was, in fact, glancing through the report, and out of curiosity, I have to ask you this: that are Indians really experimenting with food across the country, or is it more of a metro-led trend?
Karishma, the answer is emphatically yes,
Hmm.
because experimentation by definition is you're trying out new things, right?
Yeah.
So for, let's say in tier four, people are trying out with new things like pizzas or burgers, and so it's experimentation at that level. People who have already done that are trying out international cuisines. And international cuisines, while Italian, Japanese, all these remain quite popular, Mexican, it's not uncommon today, or at least not completely impossible to find even a Peruvian cuisine show up or Ethiopian cuisine show up as full-fledged restaurants, right? That's on one hand.
Mm.
Equally, what I call, because of chefs really reviving Indian cuisine. So you have Pahadi food which is growing. You have Bihari food which is growing. I personally was 10 days back at a supper club where chef was making Himachali cuisine, right?
Mm.
So India is experimenting, but the nature of experimentation and nature of trying out new things varies widely across what your base level is.
Okay, got it. And do you see an analogy or any kind of balance between late night binging and healthier options? Because the country has really changed its lifestyle and food eating habits post the pandemic.
Yeah, I think late night eating, if you ask me, is a function of two or three things. One is there's certainly large parts of India, or not large parts, there's some part of India which actually operates at night,
Hmm.
right? If you think of hospitals, right? If you think of education institutions where kids are awake till late night studying, or, they usually don't sleep early, or GCCs where 24/7 operations are on. So there's a part of India which is awake. And classically, the food options were very limited. Like media, for example, like you guys run 24/7. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, and the second part is there's a generation which I think really the sleeping patterns are not the same as everyone else. They tend to sort of sleep late. They are consuming content. And at that point in time, home kitchens are closed, restaurants are closed, and delivery becomes sort of the default option to go to. So late night is definitely a trend and also is good for the economy. I will say that the more India opens up and the more India becomes and the cities become safer to operate late night and commerce grows,
Yeah.
it's good for us. We need more operating hours. We need more business for the country to grow even stronger than it is today. Yeah.
Great, interesting. You were mentioning just a while back about certain hyper-regional cuisines doing well, Pahadi, Himalayan, and others. Do we have any trend of to what extent are they doing well?
Small base, Karishma, small base, I must say, but the growth rates are quite promising. So for some of these cuisines are growing between 2x to 8x of normal growth rates, right?
Okay.
But the good part is that today I call it largely a social media effect as well, because people are discovering,
Hmm.
right, on Instagram, really all kinds of food and variety, and they're curious. They're curious to say, "Oh, I have never seen this," right? Because I probably have never traveled to that region or not native to that region. So I
Yeah.
want to try it. And that creates its own cycle of demand and supply. Just to give you a very common example, I live in Gurgaon, and today it's not uncommon during Onam to find a bunch of restaurants sending pamphlets saying, "Pre-book your Sadhya meal,"
Ah.
right? 3 years back, I don't remember that. 4 years back, I don't remember that. Maybe one or two restaurants, right? So, really, a lot of regional cuisine is moving beyond its state borders and being accepted and enjoyed by a wide cross section of Indian population.
Yeah, and I think it goes globally. I mean, with global cuisines, other cuisines also, because I know social media was the place where they also discovered the K-pop, the Korean makeup, and also the bimbap.
Yeah, yeah, Korean cuisine is an interesting example because uh, I think Korea has sort of brought its culture overseas as a quite a package, because it's right from Gangnam Style to BTS to Korean cosmetics to Korean food, right? And I think when people see K-pop, I think there's a fan base out there which is loving all things Korean, so that definitely is a trend.
Great. Could you also share some insights on how your 10-minute delivery Bolt has contributed to the success story?
Yeah, Karishma, remains more than a double-digit percentage of our order base today, and is
Okay.
across 500 cities, almost 70-80,000 restaurants on Bolt, right? Uh, the the use cases are very distinct, and there's a bunch of either consumers who love to receive their food much faster, or there are times and use cases. Just to give a classic example, you're leaving for office early morning, and you only have that half an hour, 40 minutes to complete your breakfast and go, right?
Yeah.
And that I think is a time when something like a Bolt really comes through, right? So there are multiple use cases. I think it's been accepted quite nicely, and I think we'll continue to build on providing an even more reliable experience to our consumers on Bolt.
Okay. Rohit, I also just want to get some numbers in terms of your recent balance sheet. We've seen some loss when it comes to your e-commerce business. How does that impact your
You
strategy?
mean you mean quick commerce business?
Quick commerce business. Sorry. How does that impact Swiggy's long-term strategy?
No, so I think there are two things. One is that on the Instamart business, we have in our earnings call guided to a contribution margin positive business by June of next year, right? Having
Hmm.
said that, look, the opportunity is so large.
Hmm.
The quick commerce overall opportunity is several times that of food, right? So while profitability is definitely in a very important objective and at the contribution margin level initially, but overall, I think just becoming a very sizable player in that market is very rewarding. There are very few businesses and TAMs available which are the size of quick commerce in today's India, and so I think we consider fortunate to be able to have a brand as strong as Instamart in there and really growing at the rate it's growing.
Okay, great. One last question, and this is, of course, to the recent announcement, also the labor codes that have recently rolled out for social security of gig workers. How do you see Swiggy adapting to the cost structure? Does it seem fine to go ahead with your strategies already in place?
So, Karishma, two things. One, this was anticipated, right? It was about to come at some point, right? And the drafts and etc. were being worked upon. Second, I think it is very I think personally it's a very positive move, right?
Hmm.
And that's our organizational response as well, because it clearly recognizes gig workers. It also provides a clear framework on how companies in India should operate towards that, right? So it takes out a lot of ambiguity away, right? And that's always a good thing. I think for businesses, having certainty of policy is a very important dimension. And that I think it scores highly on that count. On the economics, we are still waiting for the final details to come through, right? And the teams are working through it, but I don't think it'll be a significant impact in any which way. Yeah.
Okay, and what's for Swiggy in 2026?
I think, look, just because the calendar changes, our mission doesn't change.
Yeah.
But we are coming out of one festive season, which is Diwali, and many regional festivals in October, September, October. And we are looking forward to the high season of Christmas and New Year. And January will come, and the health trends will go up immediately, which it always does every year. I don't expect that to change.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for speaking with us, Rohit, on Business Studio Television, and wishing you luck for the year to come.
Thank you. Thank you, Karishma. And thank you for having me on the show.